What's one myth about autism you wish would disappear?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. Number one, that children with autism, this is just the way their brains are wired. No, no, it's not true. Their brains are not wired autistic. Autism is not just one genetic gene, because if it was,
Isn't it genetic?
there's no placebo effect in this. Like, how is it happening? How is it that we've done feeding therapy for 3 years for my son, and we never got him to actually want to eat any solid foods without a bribe or without a what you call forceful feed? Tell me why on just a week and a half of supplements, a week and a half, right? Which it takes like up to 6 weeks to actually like do its thing.
Mm-hmm.
A week and a half. The biomedical practitioners.
All right, this is the Unspecial podcast. Today I'm joined with Cassandra Jimenez, also known as, oh man, I just went blank on your handle, the Relentless Advocate. And she has become a trusted voice for families searching for hope beyond the diagnosis. She's walked the road of raising a son with autism, questioned the status quo, even more so lately, pursued biomedical interventions, and has openly shared where she's seen both breakthroughs and heartbreak. And through it all, her faith has remained the foundation. Cassandra, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun conversation. I always love to dive into the biomedical, and I haven't had many recent conversations on it, so we will get in the weeds on that. But before we get into it, I'm going to rapid fire some questions.
Okay.
What's one book every autism parent should read? And you should say my book. No, I'm just kidding.
One book. I have to be really honest. I have been going at a very, very rapid pace. So I have a lot of books I've purchased, but not completed at all whatsoever. So if I were to say a book that I have dove into the most, and it's not necessarily only related to autism, it would be The Body Keeps the Score.
Oh.
That would be a book. But to be truthful, I have been so insanely busy. I bought a bunch of books. They're actually like all sitting right here on my desk. I'm like staring at them. I even bought like, let me show you this big book. And like, I don't even know how reliable any of this stuff is anymore because my opinions have changed, right? And I've educated myself and I don't know, but I had bought this big old book. Look at how big this book is. I mean, it's insane. When my son was first diagnosed, and I looked at that and I was just like, and I'm like learning everything from the early intervention, the therapist. So truthfully, I haven't even completed a book to say, but The Body Keeps Score would be a good one because you have to heal within and your body is keeping score. And if your body's under stress, it can mirror autism symptoms, right? So.
Right. And that's my wife is big on that book. I haven't read it. She's told me a little bit about it, but especially for the parents or the caregiver of a special needs child, like it's so overlooked how taxing the journey is for you guys. And even for myself with my wife fighting cancer, and I'm taking care of the 4 kids amongst other stuff I do. And I can like feel it in my body when I'm going too hard.
Yep.
And some days I just have to take a pause and like just collect myself. And it's like, today is a day where we do nothing.
No.
And I have, I'll have like a list of things I need to get done, but I'm like, it's going to have to wait another day.
No, it's absolutely true. You have to listen to your body because if you don't, your body will start to shut down. And that started to happen to me. So that's why actually my therapist told me to get that book. And so did my doctor. So people have told me, I was like, you're like the 3rd or 4th person that has told me I should read this book. So yeah, it's so important to listen to your body.
Yeah, The Body Keeps Score. One that I'm reading right now that's super cool is called Decoding Cody. And it's about a group of non-speakers.
Yeah.
And how they can like see into the spiritual world and their faith. And it's just the craziest testimonials of speakers spelling and telling you what they're experiencing. I feel like it really gives you a deep dive into their minds And it just proves what we know, that they're very intelligent,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's fascinating.
I mean,
And
it's
they're all
yeah,
saying the same thing.
yeah.
It's like they're
No, it's so
skeptics. They're
true.
like, no, they can't see that. Like, they're all saying the same thing. And God can speak to them just like He can speak to us. That's how He speaks to them.
Yeah. It is amazing what their minds can do. Like even Gestalt language processing. How does my son memorize episodic language? How does he remember? Like he could watch something once and know it. Like we started really listening to what he was saying, and we're like, that's not English. He was speaking Russian, and then he was speaking Polish, and then he can hear Mickey. He loves Mickey Mouse, and he can watch Mickey Mouse in Russian and Polish, German, Dutch, and Chinese. Okay, oh, and Spanish. Those are the ones that he watches. He loves like the intonation. He will listen to it and then reiterate it in English as they're saying it in the other language, and then vice versa. It could be in English, and then he'll start saying, counting the numbers in Dutch,
Oh my gosh.
or he'll intertwine them. Like he'll go back and forth. Like he'll speak English and he'll speak another language. And we are just like, okay, when he gets his full voice and he's conversational, I'm going to really put him into a bunch of different languages and see how fast he picks up, like what he really does understand and know. Because it's wild.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Oh man. What's one biomedical resource or organization every family should know about?
Biomedical resource. I think knowing the MAPS doctors 100%. And truthfully, I think biomedically, you have to just do your own research based off of like your child's individual needs. But if you don't know where to look, the best place to start would be with the MAPS physician, because then they can
Yeah.
guide you from there. And at least you have something that had, they're part of a practice that is stable and reliable versus just going with like a one-off, biomedical
Mm,
practitioner. Because a lot of biomedical practitioners I have heard, again, I'm very, very, very new to this world. So I am learning as I go. I don't have all of the answers, but a lot of biomedical practitioners, sometimes they don't have an end goal. They don't have a roadmap. They're just doing very generic testing and then kind of throwing supplements out. Hey, I think this works. This could work. Versus having like an actual protocol, having actual
mm,
structure, because you can't just like be all zigzag, like it has to be like more
yeah.
like a pyramid. You start at the top and, you just build.
That's huge. That's a big point. Huh. And then also Autism Health. Tracy Slepsovich
Yes, and
is
autism health. And
a
again,
big
I'm
organization.
so new to this whole world. I can list accounts that I can go find on my Instagram account, but it's hard to remember everyone. Again, my son just got diagnosed last March. So I have just been a sponge, like absorbing everything and just learning as I go. And then also
Yeah.
Taka. Taka is 100% a
Taka.
wonderful organization. They have their annual event that's coming up in October. So that's a good one too. But I think like if someone really was interested in getting biomedical care and they wanted to like just get their feet wet and understand more, 100% I would contact the MAPS doctor to get your child evaluated.
Yeah. And then an account on Instagram, the one and only two-time Unspecial podcast guest, Praying Through
Exactly.
Autism, Live.
Praying through autism, my girl Liv. I could list a good like probably 3 to 5 moms that are absolutely amazing and honestly probably have more information than the average doctor can even think of.
Yeah. Live would be one of them.
Yeah, Liv is my girl. That is the go-to. Liv, and then there's Angela. Have you seen Vincino's Army?
I haven't.
Oh gosh, I have to send you
I
her
gotta find
profile.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
gotta interview her. She actually has healed 2 of her sons.
Oh wow. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's that's fascinating.
Wait, what about
Okay.
Vincent Speaks? Have you interviewed Vincent Speaks, Buffy?
No,
Oh gosh.
I
Okay.
I haven't even heard of him. I gotta find
Oh,
him.
oh, yeah, you gotta find him. Buffy is hilarious. she's a firecracker. She does not hold back either. I love her. I love Angela. You got to get both of them on your podcast for sure.
Okay, I'm down. I'm down.
Yeah.
What's one myth about autism you wish would disappear?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. Number one, that children with autism, this is just the way their brains are wired. No, no, it's not true. Their brains are not wired autistic. Autism is not just one genetic gene, because if it was,
Isn't it genetic?
it's genetic in the sense that I know I'm like, hold on, wait a second. See how I'm so conditioned to answering that question?
Yeah.
And maybe I was like, it's genetic because I was just talking to a friend that reached out to me this morning, actually. She's a nurse practitioner in mainstream healthcare. And she was telling me that her nephew just got diagnosed with autism on her husband's side. And she asked if I could talk to the parents. And I said, yeah, of course. So she's like, I haven't been on Instagram in a while. I haven't seen any of your updates. I said, well, my content has shifted a lot. And I'm doing biomedical healing. She's like, what is that, right? And then we start going into the conversation. She's like, but wait, if it's not genetic, how is it not genetic if genes are inherited? I'm like, it's like predisposition genes. Like, I'm explaining this to her, because she's my friend and I love her, but she's in mainstream healthcare. Is she going to understand? So I'm so conditioned to, like, anytime I'm like, autism is not genetic in the way you think it is, my brain is automatically like, I have to defend what I'm saying because nobody believes it, because they just believe whatever the heck they're told by their physician in mainstream healthcare and whatever the population and society is saying. And they're just little puppets that reiterate what everyone says. And that, and that's why when you ask me a question, I'm going to tell you, like, if I don't know it, I'm like, honestly, like, I don't know. I'm just new to this world, because I'm not going to sit here and pretend I have all the answers. I'm not going to sit here and act like I know everything that I'm talking about, because that's what the other people do. And I hate that. They just blindly say, oh, you can't heal autism. Oh, because like, you tried. What did you do? You have a child that has autism? Oh, you don't? Okay.
Right. Well, and even the criteria on how they diagnose in the DSM-5, it's symptoms,
Exactly.
behavior, speech, and it's like, why are those happening? Because there's a medical condition underneath it, and that's when families say they heal their child, is because they address the root cause, and symptoms change.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've had countless parents, some on the podcast, and I've met their children. Tracy Slepsevich is one of them, who's healed her son. He lives a completely functional life. He drives a car. He has a job. And in the early days, he was non-speaking. He was very dysregulated. And it's like, there's countless testimonials where it's like, you can't say that.
Yeah, no, it's wild. Even the biomedical practitioner I'm working with, she's all the way in Australia, but she does train the MAPS doctors here in the US. She goes to the TACAs, she goes to all the conferences, and she healed both of her sons as well. Same situation. Her son was in a more severe situation, I should say, than Mateo when it came to eating, because at least Mateo will drink water. Her son didn't even drink water. She had to take him to the hospital every single day to get an IV to hydrate him because he refused water. He drank baby formula until he was in first grade. And she's a doctor, right? So she's embarrassed, right? She's embarrassed. Like, how can I not of her child, but embarrassed of, like, how can I not help my son? And he's still drinking formula. And as she's actively researching everything, right? So her son was drinking baby formula until first grade, in diapers until he was 7. The other biomedical practitioner, that is her lead clinician that I'm working with, they both oversee Mateo's case, but Dr. Heather is who I'm referencing, is like, she's the director CEO. So she manages the practice. Dr. Amanda's son, nonverbal, I want to say she said 14. It was definitely in the teens. I want to say it was 14 years old, completely nonverbal. Addressed the root cause, came in contact with Dr. Amanda. She went to go get her degrees in biomedical and all the other degrees that she got to help her son, and genomic testing and research to help her son. And now all 3 of the kids are in their 20s, independently living, have jobs, driving, boating licenses. Like they're living
Amazing.
their life. They're living their life.
Yeah. And that's what every parent wants. And so the
It
ones that are
always.
like, yeah, the ones that say like, oh, you're just trying to change your child. Like, how could you want to help them? Like, it's it goes back to, society wants you to paint autism as an identity. And
Yeah.
so if you challenge that with biomedical or healing, the big buzzword, then you're trying to change their identity, but it's not even identity. It's
And it's
medical.
not even like who they are. They're stuck in their body in dysregulation.
Mm-hmm.
So your child wants to come through. Look at all the non-speaking children, right, that are doing the spelling to communicate.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, I understand everything that's happening around me. I am very aware, actually. Thank you.
Right.
So it's just like mind blowing to me. Like,
And I
it's,
think it was Tyler Hudson put it. He's
oh
like,
yeah, Tyler has a good one.
disorder, autism spectrum disorder. It's in the title. And he's
Yeah,
like, all we're trying to do is bring order to our kids' bodies.
exactly. That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
Like, pretty
So,
straightforward.
yeah, like your child wants to come through. Do you think that our children want to run back and forth and spin and slam into walls and hit their heads? Their bodies are crying for help. And like
Yeah.
as a parent to me, and this is a thing that always gets me, and I'm gonna be like super blunt because it really, really irks me when parents on the other side of advocacy like to say that, like, well, why, that's just the way your child was born. Why don't you just accept them as is? Like, this is like God made them perfectly just as is. God gave you this child because they knew that they could trust you with this child. And it's like, but wait a second, like my child was not meant to be born autistic, and you're judging me for wanting to heal my son, but I'm not judging you for not wanting to heal your child. So why is it that I'm getting judged for wanting to help my child, but I'm not sitting there then judging you for not wanting to help your child? So if like we're comparing parenting here, who's the shittier
Yeah.
parent? You know what I mean?
Right, right.
It's just like, make that make sense. You're judging me for doing more, but I am not judging you for doing less, if that's what we want to call it. If we're talking about
Uh-huh.
more or less, like, so that just drives me insane. It's like, you're judging me, but I am like losing sleep, losing my hair. I mean, I'm going to sleep at 3, 4 in the morning because I don't have time during the day. I still do traditional therapy. Like I'm still taking him
Yeah.
to speech. I'm still taking him to occupational therapy. And then what is the difference? And this is exactly like lives on this. And I will reiterate it because I also agree with her. Traditional therapy has the same end goal, right? You're going to speech therapy for what reason? You want to have your child speak, right? So I'm going to do both. I'm doing the speech therapy and then I'm going to the biomedical care. So I'm addressing the root cause and then I'm also at the surface level with the speech pathologist. So like our end goal is the same. You want your child to speak. I too want my child to speak, but I'm just like adding an additional step in there, you know? Like you
Yeah.
go to because you want your kid to eat and you want them to be regulated, and then I'm doing the same exact thing. So why are you judging me for doing more for my child?
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. As far as along with the therapies, I was at a homeschool conference yesterday, and I
Okay.
was on a panel, and the question was asked to me like, how can parents navigate all the therapies and so forth alongside homeschool? And for like the practical answer I gave was, the therapies, they need to be programmed into your homeschool. They need structure, they need routine. So the same therapy, the same day at the same time is going to
Yeah,
be very beneficial for your child. But along those lines, I said no therapy is better than bad therapy because
100%.
a lot of families hear that early intervention is everything and there's so much stress on it, but then they sign up for all the therapies and then they just run themselves into the ground.
I
And
did
so I'm
that.
like, a regulated house is a regulated child, regulated mom is a regulated child. So if all of those therapies and logistics is there's no harmony and there's no rhythm, it's going to be worse. Would
That's right.
you would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, I did that. I was like, I was in denial when my son first got diagnosed. I was not in denial, obviously, because I was getting the earlier intervention, but I thought he had a global developmental delay. I didn't think he had autism. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason why global developmental delay was on my radar was because of everything he went through in his autism, right? So I'm sorry, in his autism, in his early medical journey, which was having a liver biopsy and having nuclear medicine and general anesthesia. And on those forms that I had to sign, it stated that he could potentially have learning disabilities, so, and developmental delays. And it was a very small chance. So in my mind, when I started seeing delays, I thought that that's what it was. So it must be from what the waiver said. And I was that small, 2 to 3%, because that is my luck. That is anything that's like the 2 to 3 under 5% chances of happening. It happens to me.
Okay.
I have a proven track record of it. Okay. So I thought that that's what it is, but it didn't stop me from pursuing him to get help. You know, I still was doing early intervention, but when they diagnosed him with autism, I was just like, no, it's not autism. Nah. And there was a lot of like stereotypical reasons why I thought no, but I ended up saying, okay, well, he's autistic, so I need occupational therapy, speech therapy, I need feeding therapy, I need ABA, I need all the therapies, and I need them right now. And like, I'm transitioning into a type C now, but I was a very type A. Now I'm tired, so now I'm like a type C. But I was like, we got to get it done, and I don't give a shit. Like, I'm getting everything now. And I did. And I burned me and Mateo out real quick.
Yeah.
And I stepped back. And they wanted to add even more ABA. I mean, my son wasn't even 3 years old. And they're trying to give my son now 40 hours of ABA on top of all the other therapy we're doing.
Oof.
Like, he's not even 3 years old. That's a full-time job. Are you crazy?
Mm-hmm.
And we were only doing like, we did 12, and then I dropped down to 10, then I dropped down to 8 a week. So I was just tired.
Yeah.
And I saw that ABA, even though this was very child-led, and we did have a really great therapist, there's a couple, I was like, don't ever come back to my house. Like, bye.
Oh, that's that. Yes.
Yeah. I was like, don't, like, I would call, like, don't ever send that therapist to my house again. But I finally found a really good one. And the BCBA for the company we were using was great. I really, really did like him. And it was very child-led, but it's still ABA. Even though it's child-led, it still follows a protocol of compliance.
Mm-hmm.
And my son was triggered. Mm-hmm. It was more dysregulating than regulating. So I cut it. And we haven't done it since.
So that was my question. If a family would drop one therapy, which one would it be? ABA?
Oh, gosh. If I were to drop one, that would be the one. But then that's hard to say, because I know families that their children do really thrive on ABA. And it really depends, I feel, on what they're struggling with. Because if they are really struggling with their behaviors, ABA in a very child-led, not compliance-based way could be good. But if your child is really struggling with behaviors to that extent, especially with like injurious behaviors, then at that point I'd be like, yeah, save your time and your money with ABA and go the biomedical route, because your child's in pain. Something's happening and their body's screaming.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not against ABA. And I mean, unless if it's super compliance based, I am. But if it's child led, I think it could be beneficial for some kids, but not for my son. It was not for him.
Yeah, and it's so interesting how they taught us ABA in the teaching world. I taught for 7 years. Yeah, and it was so clinical. Like the BCBAs would come into my class and they would go through everything, and I'm like, no, I wouldn't do it because it was compliance led. I'm like, this isn't going to solve anything. And then I would be more like, let's focus on the student, and his behaviors are communicating something. Like, I don't need him to sit in his chair for him to sit in his chair. Let's get to the bottom of why isn't he sitting in his chair. And a perfect example is I moved to North Idaho, and I came into a class. It was a complete disaster. There was one student in the back room all day long, and he was punching everyone. And I'm like, okay. I walked in. I'm like, why is he in here? Like, well, he's too violent. He keeps punching everyone. I'm like, do you think Do you think it's because he's in this room all by himself all day?
Yeah, I'd be
And
isolated.
they're like, it's too dangerous. And I'm like, great, I'll take it on. Let's bring him into the classroom. And like within the 2 days, he was not hitting anybody. And then the
That's
other, yeah. And the other student, he would always elope. He would run out of the classroom. And so I was like, all right, let's go complete opposite. I'm going to leave the classroom door open at all times, and I'm going to sit him in the chair closest to the door. I'm like,
yeah.
you're lost your mind. You're this crazy California guy. And like the third day, he stopped running away. He thought it was a game. I'm like,
Yeah.
and I told him straight up, I'm like, hey, bro, I'm not chasing you. This isn't a game to me. Like, this is
Hmm.
your class. You have free will to run out that door whenever you want.
Exactly.
And he did for a few days, and then I just knew his route. Like after
Yeah.
he did the same route every time, so he would run out, and I would just walk the opposite way, and then he would see
Yeah.
me and get back. But it's crazy when you get too focused on the clinical and the textbook way of doing things, you completely lose track of the student.
Yeah, because every child is going to be different, and you can't just put them in this box. And
Right.
it's like, I think what I like to call a lot of what I've done with my son, especially with this feeding, is like more exposure therapy. Like
Mm-hmm.
I do my own forms of exposure therapy with them, and that's basically what you just described with that child. You did exposure therapy. Let's put him in the position of what is endangering him the most and causing him to not be able to be a part of this class, right? Which is not an excuse. That's ridiculous, but that's what they were doing. And that was their
Mm-hmm.
reason for not including him. So let's put him right next to the door. That's exposure therapy.
Yeah.
Like, let's see how much you can resist running out. And then eventually, yeah, it gets boring. He's like, okay, this is boring now. I'm over it. I can go out this door
Right.
anytime I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So fun. All right. So Mateo, how old is he? He's 3.
He just turned 4. He just turned 4
Just
last
turned
week.
4.
Just
Okay,
a
and
baby.
he was recent. And you have 5 kids?
I have 6. Big
6.
blended family. Yeah. So I have 4 biological and I have 2 bonus babies. I hate saying stepchildren. They're my bonus babies.
And what are the ages?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So let's start at the top. We have 17. She's going to be 18 in December, which is wild that I've raised a whole child already. I'm like, how? So
Oh man.
17, 14, 2 12-year-olds, not twins, my bonus baby and my son. And then 10 and 4.
10 and 4. Okay. And Mateo was recently diagnosed?
Yeah, he was diagnosed last March,
Okay.
March
How
21st.
how was that process?
You
Stressful?
know, I actually think that I was one of the luckier ones in this time, which is interesting. Like I said, I'm usually like the 1 2 or 2% of people that has like a really bad experience, but I think I had just angels watching over me, and guiding me because God knew I think I was really having a hard time accepting what was happening, even though I was actively trying to get him help. It was really difficult for me to wrap my head around like how is like everything we went through from pregnancy and then delivery and then postpartum to now autism. Like what?
Mm,
You know? I think God knew that I needed that extra support and push because, like you said, when you're referencing your body, right, taking care of everyone and your wife and everything that's on your plate and you're going through, I too was like, I just like am not even recovered from anything that just happened 2 years ago. How am I gonna take on autism now? And I was feeling really heavy. And I did early intervention through my regional center when Mateo was 14-ish months, like right before he turned 15. He was like one of the youngest people or children, I should say, that they had on their caseload. And now that I know my son is autistic, looking back to all the interactions I had with him, they all knew he was autistic. And they all knew I wasn't ready to hear it. And they obviously are not able to diagnose, right? That's not their place. And they can get
mm,
in trouble and fired. So no one really said it, but they said it. They said it in other ways and they gave me hints. And so I was offered an evaluation for autism very young for him, right at 2 years old. And I was like, I don't know. I'm just not ready because I don't think my son has autism. And they're like, well, it's not going to hurt. You know, it actually will help you in the long run get a diagnosis early. And I was like, yeah, but I don't want that on his medical record, because then what if he's not autistic and I can't take it off? I know how this medical system is. They like to label you, and it's really
Hmm.
hard to get those labels off. And so they're like, okay, we'll just think about it, because the wait lists are really long. We're going to cover it through the regional center, but the wait list is going to be 9 months to a year. So by that time, he'll almost be 3 years old, and then you would have had some time to decide if you want to do it, and you don't have to if you don't want to. And so I was like, well, let me think about it. And I was like, in my mind, yeah, right. Like, stop asking me, you know? So I ended up getting a new caseworker, which all my caseworkers, again, this is why I feel like I'm one of the lucky ones. I've had some amazing caseworkers through regional center. And I know that's not everyone's experience, but thankfully I have. So I got a new caseworker, um, and she came to my house for the evaluation. And she just looked at me, and I'll never forget it. I ended up calling her after Mateo was diagnosed, and I thanked her for that. And she said to me, I know you don't want him to have autism, and I know that this is not like what you think it is, but I've been doing this for a really long time, and the only way I can tell you this is like, just please do it. Like, I'm here, and I'm like looking at your son, and I just really think that you should do the evaluation. And that's all she could say. She can't say she thinks he's autistic. She can't put her opinion. She's not a clinician, right?
Hmm.
So she's like, just do it. I was like, okay. She believed my son was autistic so much that she rushed my son's evaluation. I got a call 2 weeks later, and I was like,
Hmm.
what the? And it's this doctor, and she's like, hi, I'm contracted with Regional Center, doctor so and so, and I actually have some availability, and your son's case was like put on like a rushed list, and can you come in 2 weeks? And I was like, I thought it was 9 to 12 months. And she's like, oh, well, usually, but I don't know. For some reason, they put a rush on yours. I don't know. It's just marked urgent.
Wow.
And then I just took it as God's sign at that point. And I was just like,
Yeah.
oh gosh. I was like, okay, all right, God, I'm gonna listen, and I'm just gonna submit, because I don't know why everyone keeps pushing this, and he's not autistic. Like, I'm still in my head, right? So then I'm like, okay, so I did it. And I'll never forget it, because it was really quick and it was really fast. And they just diagnosed him within an hour. And actually, my husband was there, but he, at that time, was a sales manager. And he had a call that he had to be on that took way longer. So he actually had to be in and out. And as she tells me that my son is autistic, my husband's outside at this point, and I'm like taking it in, and I'm just like crying, and I'm like, okay, well, can it be reversed? Like, can autism be reversed? I've heard about this, and I've heard that you can rewire their brain, like all these things. Like, is it possible? And she's just like, no, no, your
Hmm.
son will always be autistic. He will always have autism. Quotes. Those are quotes. Dead ass in my
Wow.
eyes. And I was like crying, and I was just like, okay, But I knew in my mind that he wasn't born autistic. I knew that. So my husband comes in, he sees me in full tears. He's like, oh. And then we come home. I had ABA at that time, and they were waiting for me because the appointment ran a little over. So I didn't have time to process it. And then my husband had to go to work because he had another meeting. So
Hmm.
and he was on a call that whole ride home because he was a manager, and had to be on this call. So we didn't
Oh
even
man.
talk. We didn't process it. I just went straight into ABA. And I sat in my son's room, and there was like tears welting in my eyes as I was able to sit in silence for a couple minutes. And the RBT looked at me, and he's like, are you okay? And I was like, no. He's like, do you need him? And I was like, yeah, just give me a second. And I just like cried right there for maybe a couple minutes. And I was like, okay, I'm done. What do we got to do? And
Yeah.
that was the story.
This. I mean, you autism moms all have a similar like short grieving, and then
Yeah.
it's like, let's get to work. What do we need to
Yeah.
do?
I literally just said that. I was like, all right, I'm going to put my mom hat on now. I'm like, what do we got to do? What's up? Tell me. I don't know anything. At that point, I'm like, he's an RBT. He's going to know more than I do. So he was young as heck. I'm looking at him like, how is he going to teach me? But he knows something, right? He's here. So teach
Right.
me. Clearly, I didn't even know my child was autistic. So you have to know better than I do. But was I
Do
wrong?
you like have you looked back and like pinpointed to anything like early during the pregnancy,
Oh yeah.
any early intervention or anything that you think perhaps caused it?
Oh yeah. I had a really, really rough pregnancy. I have something I haven't talked about on my page yet, just because there's so much that I have to say, and it's really hard to articulate everything I have to say in under 3 minutes, in these reels to get people's attention. And then my page will just kind of be everywhere. So I'm starting here. Eventually, I will dive into being gaslit as a woman in the healthcare system. I have been being gaslit since 2010 in the healthcare
Mm.
system. So I have a motility disorder, which basically is an esophagus disorder. Like my esophagus is a little narrow. I have a really large tongue base, which is like where your tongue sits in the back of your throat. And so it feels like I choke on food. When I got pregnant, I had really bad reflux, like insanely bad reflux. I got taken off of work for it. I couldn't eat. I couldn't take my vitamins. So I was very skinny. I lost a lot of weight. I'm barely 5'2". I'm like right under 5'2". I dropped down, not when I was pregnant. When I was pregnant, I lost like 12 pounds initially. So I was like 124, 6 months pregnant. And looking back at those pictures, I'm like, whoa, like I definitely was really thin. I was surviving off of protein shakes, which have heavy metals in them, and I didn't even know that. Also, obviously, I'm not taking my vitamins. I'm not eating a healthy diet. I'm anemic. They want me to do an iron infusion. I'm refusing that. Um, I had a lot of anxiety because I got told that I could choke on my food. And so I
Mm.
was like really scared to eat. And now I'm on maternity leave alone in my house all the time. I'm on disability leave. No one's here. What if I choke and I need help? So it was a really scary time. I had a lot of stress and I blamed myself, like metabolically, like I couldn't provide, right?
Mm.
Um, and then even though my stomach and everything like was growing well, like I was definitely smaller than my other three pregnancies for sure. I never really gained a lot of weight in my other pregnancies either, but I was noticeably smaller, obviously, right? I only gained a total of 12 pounds because I kept gaining, losing, gaining. So after I had Mateo, I ended up dropping down to 109 pounds, which is really crazy to say.
Hmm.
And like now looking back at some of my friends that would see me after a while were like, you're so skinny. What's going like you're so small. Like the weight I'm in right now is probably like 5 to 6 pounds heavier than I normally am. So you can imagine being 109 pounds. It's very tiny.
Mm.
Um, and I had IUGR at 32 weeks. His measurements were measuring a little bit smaller. So IUGR is intrauterine growth restriction. So basically, which is the placenta is not feeding your child, your fetus, the nutrients, all the nutrients. So I had to see a high risk doctor. And then I blamed myself for that. And then the
Mm.
doctor's like, that has nothing to do with you. But I think it did. I still think, from what I know now, it did play a role in it. On the biomedical side of things, mainstream healthcare will say no, but biomedically, yeah. So I blame myself a lot for that, but I try not to go there and just, I sought therapy after because I was blaming myself for a lot of things that happened. And, my therapist said to me, but like, did you do the best that you could? Like, honestly, you did the best that you could. Like you were still seeking care. You were supplementing with protein shakes. You were trying to take your vitamins, but you were having reflux, throwing up. Like you did the best that you could, right? In the moment with your circumstances. And that's what I had to hold on to because I'm like, she's right,
Hmm.
I did. But it's hard. It's hard to
Yeah.
look back and be like, I should have, could have, would have, what, like. But that's
Oh
where
yeah.
mainstream healthcare really failed me in my pregnancy because I was depressed. You have to fill out these like depression forms. They would come in the room and they're like, "Are you okay? You're scoring high in your depression." I'm like, "Well, it's because I can't eat." And then there was nothing. There was just like, "Okay, see you at your next appointment." So then why are we filling out these depression forms if you're
Just to
just sending me on my way?
just
You
to
know?
state that you're depressed.
Yeah. So they can label me as a
Huh.
depressed depressed maternal person. Like,
Well, and it's crazy, like going back to the body keep score.
yeah,
That birth stress, Dr. Tony Ebel talks about a lot, PX docs, neurologically
yes,
focused chiropractic. And he describes it as the perfect storm. Like, the birth stress, and then the interventions, and then toxins, all of it kind of hits ahead. And then you start to experience symptoms.
yeah. I didn't even mention the fact that his cord was wrapped around his neck twice tightly, and supposedly the oxygen was good, but I mean, we're relying on computers here. Like, what if there was a small little dip that wasn't detectable, but enough to take some oxygen from his developing brain and his body cells, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when I delivered him, the midwife did say, and he was very blue, but he got his color back right away and he did not need oxygen ultimately after birth. But in the pictures, like, he's very, very, very dark blue. But again, he got his color back within seconds. So they said he didn't need oxygen. And he was crying and he seemed fine. But the midwife did say, yeah, the cord was wrapped around his neck pretty tightly. But she was able to easily get it off. Even though it was tight, it wasn't difficult to get off, she said. So there was that. On top of a 3-day induction, I had Pitocin. I didn't do any pain meds because I was so determined that I was hospitalized for 10 days, actually 11 days prior to having him, because they wanted to send me home after telling me that the cord was wrapped around his neck twice. And I refused. I said, I'm not going home. I've heard too many stories, and I couldn't feel Mateo kicking because my placenta was anterior. So it was blocking it from me feeling any movement. And I told the high risk doctor, I've already gone to labor and delivery a few times because I can't do fetal kick counts. I don't feel him move. And I know exactly when he turned breech because he was small, he kept flipping and flopping. I went to the emergency room that night, and you know what? I don't even want to cuss, but mm, the doctor didn't even do an ultrasound. And I told him, this is my 4th pregnancy. I felt Mateo just like drop. Like, I know when his cord got tangled because I felt it. I felt it. I knew something happened. And God gives us motherly intuition for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I was laying down, and it was just like, I got to go to the emergency room.
Oh,
And my
wow.
husband's like, what's wrong? I was like, I got to go. I got to go. Like, I was like, I have to go. Something's not right. I have to go. I was lying down on my side. Everything was normal. It was like just chilling, ready to go to sleep. And then I just felt like this, like literally, like, I'm trying to find something, like just like actually I have this, like a little loop, right? The little loop. And then it's just like, boom, drop down on the loop. And now it's just like if it was hung, right? Hung. I could feel the cord just like he dropped down and his weight is now hanging on his neck. That's what it felt
Wow.
like. And he's smaller. So there's room. He's not a big baby. And I felt it, and I didn't feel him move after. I sat there for like a couple minutes, and I was like, nope, I gotta go. I gotta go. And I told the doctor exactly. I said, I feel like his cord got wrapped around his neck. This is before I even knew anything. And the doctor refused to do an ultrasound on me. Refused. He just did the little monitor because they're like, oh, there's a heartbeat, there's active movement. I'm like, no, can you just please? He refused.
Huh.
I ended up a couple days later getting that high risk care. And it wasn't until my second appointment that they saw he almost missed it. He almost missed it. And then he saw because it was tight. So it wasn't as obvious.
Oh,
And actually, his nurse got it first. And then it took him a minute to confirm it. His nurse that was doing the ultrasound saw it. And she's like, I'll be right back. And then here comes a doctor and he's like squinting looking. And then he finally saw it. He's like, oh, yeah, yeah, it's right there. It was so flesh on his neck. And I knew when it happened. And the doctors didn't even listen to me. So there was that.
huh. How stressful.
Yeah. So 3 days of induction because my body wasn't ready to give birth, but we didn't know if the placenta was going to continue feeding him or not. So we had to at 38 weeks, but my body was not ready. So they're like, on the 3rd day, if you fail another day of induction, you're going to have a C-section. And I already had went down that road because he was flip-flopping between transverse and breech. And I was like, gosh, like, come on. on my fourth baby, like I'm going to go out with a bang and have my first C-section. Like, no.
Hmm.
So then on the third day of induction, I was like, I like, I can't do it. Like I started losing my mind. I was like, I want to leave. I'm out of here. I'm not going to let them give me a C-section. But I couldn't leave at the same time because like I wanted to make sure he was okay because I knew the cord was around his neck, right?
Yeah.
But there's a
Did
lot
he
to it.
did he
I
end
would
up it ended up being C-section?
No, thank God. And
Oh
what
wow.
I was going to say is like, there's so much detail to my story that we could talk for hours here, but because you're a man of faith, there was a doctor, a midwife that I had seen a couple of visits prior in the labor and delivery when I couldn't feel him moving. Long story short, she ended up being more of a holistic, natural approach midwife. She actually delivered her child breech naturally, which, they don't ever want to do that, right? And she convinced a doctor in Chicago where she was then living to do this for her. And so when Mateo was breech, I said, well, I have a scheduled C-section, but in the event that he turns, are you going to be here at the hospital this day? Because I had Kaiser, right? And they have their schedules, right? It's not like private practice doctors that just can meet whenever. So she looks and she's like, oh, I'm going to be on vacation. I was so bummed because she was all about natural childbirth. And I knew that, like, I just vibed with her. And I was like, she's going to be able to, like, help me. I wasn't getting a doula because they were too expensive. And I ended up just taking, like, a natural birthing course online. And I felt pretty confident, but also I was terrified because I never done it before naturally. I had epidurals with the other three. So after day two, now here comes like mid day three, and the morning shift comes in, and who is it? It's her. She's it. She's my midwife. And I go, oh my gosh. And then my mom and my husband see my face like go from somber to just, I lit up and I was so happy. I was like, do you remember me? And she's like, oh my gosh, yeah. Hold on, I thought I wasn't going to be here. She's like, wait, what? And then she starts like reading all the notes. She's like, oh my gosh, you've been through it. She's like, I'm like, this is so wild that it's you, right? Then comes in her nurse, and her nurse's name is Faith.
Oh
And I was all right, this, and she's like, both of them looked at me and they're like, we are having your baby today, and you are not having a C-section.
wow.
We're
No
gonna have
way.
we're gonna have your baby before I leave, before night shift. I was like, okay. And I did. Like 4 hours later, delivered Mateo.
That's so
All
awesome.
natural.
Oh man. God had his hand in it for sure.
Yeah, yeah, it was wild.
So when did you switch over to start leaning into the biomedical world?
Actually, just recently. So that's why, some of the questions you're going to ask, I'm like, I don't have the answer yet because I'm still learning. I just started looking in January. So
Okay.
I tried reaching
Well,
out to a couple of accounts. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, like where would someone start? As you're early on, like what was your process if
Well,
someone's thinking about it?
my process was you have to really truly know in your heart of hearts that your child was not born autistic. And if you know that, you're never going to stop looking for answers.
Yes.
And so that's what led me. Like, I just didn't stop. I didn't care. Like, I was doing all the mainstream things people tell you to do, but it was never working and it was never enough. And I knew why, because he had deep rooted issues.
Hmm.
And I just started looking online. So, what I would say is do your research based off of your child's symptom, based off of whatever your child is like, their extreme hardship, right? Because my son's extreme hardship is his sensory processing disorder and him not eating. He's afraid of solid foods. It disgusts him. He also doesn't know how to chew, right? I would say do your research and start finding the moms online. And that was the first step. I needed to feel like I was not crazy in my head to think this. I wasn't alone because there's so many advocacy accounts that just focus on acceptance and inclusion. And like, of course, acceptance and inclusion, they matter. But like the child matters more than the label that you're protecting. So look for the moms that are posting and sharing their journey, that have healed their children. Talk to those parents. Then I would say contact the MAPS doctor or look for a biomedical practitioner in your area And it doesn't actually even have to be someone in your area, because I'm working with a doctor in Australia, right?
Right.
So I would say just find someone that you feel comfortable working with. Look for a biomedical practitioner. Make relationships and friendships with mothers that have healed their children or actively down the road of healing their children. Do a mix of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just focus on acceptance and inclusion, because those are the moms that are just accepting that this is their child's reality. And that's fine, to each their own. Again, like, I'm not going to judge you for doing that. But like, at the same time, it blows my mind. Why would parents not want to know what's on the other side? Why would you not want more information? Just like early on getting my son's diagnosis, right? The earlier intervention is telling me, it's, what is it going to hurt to get the diagnosis? It's not. It's actually going to help you get the treatment, get the help that he needs, get into therapies, right? So having this information is not going to do any harm to your child. You don't have to do anything with it. You can choose to do nothing. And anything in the biomedical world, it's all natural supplements. It's a diet and it's natural supplements.
Right.
So I would say
It doesn't hurt.
it's not going to hurt your child. Actually, doing nothing hurts more.
Yeah.
It's more. So start with the diet. What I'm learning is, and I feel the only thing that's good about my son not eating solid foods is that we have a blank canvas. He doesn't have any safe foods. He doesn't have any bad habits of chicken nuggets and fries and ice cream and things that I have to take away from him. And that part, I do feel fortunate, because he's not going to know. Like, you don't know what you don't know, right? Like, he's not going to miss eating, gluten pizza, because all he's going to know is gluten-free cauliflower pizza, right? He's not going to know the difference.
Right.
So it's like, start at the diet, and then look for a biomedical practitioner, and then connect online. You want to talk to as many moms as you can, because there's going to be a lot of naysayers. I mean, I get it all the time.
Right.
Be careful. Be careful. So be careful of what? I need to be careful of the mainstream healthcare. What? Be careful. Come on.
Be careful of not eating gluten. Okay.
Yeah. Be careful of not injecting toxins in my child.
Okay. So how far into it are you? A couple months?
Yeah, I just started. We just had our 6-week visit last week. So we signed on board about 10 weeks ago. So it's a
Okay.
process, yeah, all the consultations and everything. So yeah, I'm very fresh into his protocol, 10 weeks. I'd love to come back on your podcast mid and then at the end to give updates,
Yeah.
because I'm sure it's going to be night and day. It's mind blowing. I even had like second guess, like, is this really happening? Like, how is this? There's no placebo effect in this. Like, how is it happening? How is it that we've done feeding therapy for 3 years for my son, and we never got him to actually want to eat any solid foods without a bribe or without a, what you call, forceful feed? Not that we're shoving it in his mouth, but like, he might look this way and then we're like, boop, might look this way
Right.
and boop, the little drop in his mouth, put the spoon there. Him willingly grabbing the spoon or wanting to eat has never happened in 3 years of active, intensive feeding therapy. Tell me why on just a week and a half of supplements, a week and a half, right? Which it takes like up to 6 weeks to actually like do its thing.
Mm-hmm.
A week and a half, the biomedical practitioners' minds were blown. I sent them the videos. They saw the videos of victims feeding therapies prior to working with them. Okay. A
Oh
week prior to
man.
signing on board, to a week and a half after being on some supplements, balancing his zinc out, especially. Okay. And fish oil to reduce the brain inflammation. A week and a half later, he's grabbing my hand, pulling my hand, spoon, wanting
No
me
way.
to, and eating purees. He
Wow.
wants them. He wants more. We'll finish a little pouch. I buy those little Once Upon a Farm gluten-free, dairy-free ones, and then I
Yeah.
mix them. I mix that because it's a little sweeter. I mix that in with whatever puree or vegetable puree I make, and I slowly like put less of the sweet, so it's a buildup, right?
Yeah.
He wants more. He wants to continue eating more.
Wow.
How is that possible? It's what
Boy.
it just goes to show, you have to balance out your biochemistry
Yeah.
to function.
I can only imagine how stressful that it was those 3 years of trying to get him to eat. Like I told you, my 2-year-old has whooping cough because I
Yeah.
didn't give him the pertussis shot. Um, but he doesn't want to eat so much right now, and it stresses me out. I'm like
Yeah.
sitting there trying to fly the spoon to him and blah, blah all this stuff. I'm like, come on, dude, you just gotta eat. But
No, it
it's
is.
been like 2 days and I'm stressed out. He did it for three
Yeah.
years. So that I
Yeah.
mean, that's just gotta be the coolest win ever in a week
Oh
and a
man,
half.
I
What a
couldn't believe it. I
relief.
was like, how is this? I was like, is this a fluke? Is next week gonna come and he's not gonna want to eat? But no, we've been going solid for 7 weeks now.
Oh wow.
7 weeks straight of eating. And now, like, obviously, as you practice eating, your muscles and your jaw and everything, your oral muscles and your skills start to get stronger. So when I first started feeding the purees, there was a lot of spillage. It would just like kind of like leave his mouth like open, like, and then it would just, drain, and then he would get whatever he got on his tongue, right?
Yeah.
So now, as we're eating, even though it's purees, he is gaining those muscles and he's strengthening them and he's closing his mouth all the way. Like we would be full on bath mode after. Now it's like, okay, cool. Just maybe wipe a little bit on his chest, wash his hands, wipe his mouth, and we're good to go until bedtime shower. Like I don't have to give him a bath every time we feed him now. So
Huh.
it's just
Wild.
amazing to see, like, give your child the opportunity to amaze you and wow you because I didn't think that he would get this far this fast. I
Hmm.
did not think that this would happen this fast. So it's just like, I don't know. I don't even have the right word. It's just amazing, once you have the right support to see what's really truly possible. And it's like far beyond what you can imagine because I never imagined it happening this fast. Maybe 5 to 6 months down the road, accepting purees. And that sounds like a long time, but you have to understand, I've been doing this for 3 years with no results. So I'm not expecting much. And my husband
Hmm.
and I just couldn't believe it. Like, even with his speech, like, he's a Gestalt language processor. There's no meaning to a lot of his words unless it's like he wants to show you something on his iPad script. But if he's just talking and scripting, he's just scripting out loud. So now there are meanings to a lot of his words, lots of meaning. Now he's grabbing our hand and saying, move this. Like he wanted this little card that fell behind that dresser, that nightstand right there last night. Grabbed my husband's hand. He said, move this. And then he grabbed my husband's hand again. He said, move for me. Like, what? Never heard him say that in my life. He's never said
No
that.
way. Oh, that's
Yeah.
so cool. So then
Yeah.
what gives you hope going forward? And I mean, and how has faith played a role in your journey?
Faith is like, it is, faith is believing before you see it, right? Like everyone says, like, you have to have faith, like, believe it before you see it. And I just hold on to that. Like, God, I've been through a lot in my life, even in my own life, in my childhood and my young adulthood, moving forward into now here I am, 40-year-old mature woman. And life has not been easy for a lot of
Yeah.
my life, but I've always held on to faith and had that relationship with God. And so I always just, you know, have faith before it happens. Like you just have to hold on to that. And
Yeah.
that's just what carries me is just believing before seeing.
And it's kind of along the lines like, what do you have to lose? What's
Yeah.
the other side of it is you just have doubt and you're negative and pissed off all the time.
No, you
That
can't live
isn't.
like that.
You can't live like that. It's like
No.
even somebody asked me like they're they doubt God and faith and the Bible and all of it, and I was like, okay, answer this for me. Like, what do I have to lose by doing what the book says and just having faith and hope and trust in God? Like, if there's you can't lose. Oh, you lose a lot of the I guess like the emptiness of the world that you think will fill you, but
Yes.
ultimately we know it doesn't. And so you lose out on some of the fun, as they would say. But I'm like, that's not
Yes.
even fun.
Yeah, actually, funny little story. Last night I went to a mom's like autism meetup, right? And it's
Uh-huh.
a group of moms that like some of them I just only met once, and then a couple of them I've met several times and have a good relationship with, and all the women are great. But we go to this salt cave, and it's like we're gonna do a sound bath. So
Okay.
I'm thinking this sound bath is going to be so like calming for my nervous system. I've always wanted to do one, right? And my daughter, my 14-year-old at that, she goes, Mom, where are you going? And I was like, I'm going to a sound bath. And she's like, oh, heck no. And I'm like, what do you mean? And like her whole energy was like, oh, heck no. Like, what are you doing? I was like, Brianna, it's a sound bath to like help my nervous system because you guys stress me out. And she goes, have you seen them? And I was like, yes. Like, what have you seen? And she goes, no, I've seen where they like go do them, and some people look like they're gonna get possessed, and they pour hot water on the back of them. She's like, it's weird. And I was like, you're, I don't know what video you saw, but please pull it up because I'd like to see it. You know, I'm like, that's not what
Yeah.
I'm going to do. I'm not going to have anyone put hot water on my body, right? So we get there, and it looks so beautiful. I'm so excited. And then the lady tells me to grab a card, and I'm like, grab a card, okay? So I grab a card, and then I sit down, and then I'm like getting comfortable. It's kind of dark in there. And she's like, okay, everyone look at your cards and tell me what you see in your card. Immediately, I know it's like a tarot card. I'm like,
Oh no.
this is supposed to relax my nervous system. I am so dysregulated now. And I'm like sitting there like, and so this is why I brought this up, is you said you missed some of the fun, right? This is the fun, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's like all happy. And I'm here like, there's like 9 other women, right? And I'm here like,
I
energy,
stress
I
it
rebuke
out.
any portals, I rebuke the devil. Like, I'm just like
Yeah.
praying to myself. I did not relax that whole time. Okay. In fact, after she's like, okay, like the card had to sit on my lap the whole time. So I'm just like, literally, as she's like doing her little like calming story and doing the sounds, I am literally just praying to God and praying over my kids' names. And I'm like, because the tarot card, it has nothing to do with her. She seemed wonderful and great and nice, but I didn't know what I just walked into. I thought it was
Hmm.
coming for a comic. So all I could think of was my daughter. I'm like, she was right. What's happening here? You know, why didn't you have a tarot card? Like, this is supposed to be a relaxing thing. But they were like, let's connect one with the universe. And I actually just went to church a couple weeks ago, and my pastor did a sermon on manifestations, and when people say, you know, what you bring into the universe and you speak things into existence, and that's not biblical, right? I used to be guilty of that. I thought that, well, manifestations in the Bible, so why can't I manifest things into my future? Because God says if you want to be wealthy and you want nice things, you have to work hard for them. He talks about being wealthy in the Bible, and having nice things is not just going to come easy. You have to work for them. So I'm thinking like manifestation, not just for money, but for anything in my life is okay to talk about. Wrong. Absolutely wrong. So then she's talking about like speaking things into existence. I'm just like, this is just not for me.
Yeah.
And they all want to do it again. And I'm just like, no. So I was the odd one out that said, you know, I don't know if this is like opening a portal to like a devil or something. It's like I'm kind of like freaked out by this. I'm not gonna lie. And then like all the girls were like laughing after. They're like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you said that." I'm like, "But I have to because it's freaking me out," you know?
Yeah.
So that yeah, it's like having faith. You kind of go against, yeah, having some of the fun of what that's not fun to me.
Right.
I was
And
doing it.
that's what I don't understand. It's like, and then, sometimes people can be annoyed with you. It's like, it's just not fun for me.
Yeah,
Like, you
I
can
do.
have your fun. I'm not judging you. Just go do your thing. But for me, it's it's just not going to happen.
Exactly. Yeah, I would have rather just like had the sound bath music and then been in the environment, and it would have been perfect. But it was just like a lot of added things that I was just like, yeah, nah.
Uh, we'll close it out. But what do you hope for with your advocacy?
Well, I have something exciting that I'm working on, which is taking a little bit longer just because I want to get stuff trademarked and I don't want someone to try to steal my designs. So I am actively working on something. Um, without saying too much, biomedical care is very expensive, and it's not accessible to many. And again, faith, God literally handed me the exact number almost that I needed for the down payment for my biomedical care. And then blessed me with the monthly payment. So I had to pay a down payment, and then I have to pay my monthly payment. Okay. Tell me why God blessed me with almost exact figures. And I didn't even know. I had been looking. Oh,
I don't know either. But
that's
we're
weird.
back. It's still going.
Okay. Where did I leave off at?
You got something fun in the works.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
So
and you got the exact money for your biomed journey.
yeah, I got the exact dollar amounts. So it was just like I had no idea where I was going to come up with this money. I had some money put aside, but unfortunately, that money had to be used for a life expense with our car. So then I was like, how am I going to afford this? I don't know how I'm going to afford this. We're on one income in California, a family of 8. My husband already works from freaking 4:30 in the morning until 8:30 at night. Like, how are we going to do this? I'm busy with the kids and Mateo's therapies. And I had been looking, like I said, since January until May. And then May, I found my friend had posted about this biomedical practitioner. I'd asked her what she was doing. She sent me the information. I did the consultation. And then a week and a half later, I got a letter in the mail stating I was going to get my back pay for my caregiving money. And my
Oh
back pay for
wow.
my caregiving money was $124 more than what I needed by $124.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I was like, what are the chances of that? And then my monthly,
Jesus math.
yeah, Jesus, math. And then my monthly payment for caregiving is over $264. So I get
Oh
I get
man.
164 of those dollars. The rest goes to Mateo's biomedical care. So I didn't even know when this was going to happen. I didn't even know how much I was going to get back. I had no idea. But the timing of it is God's timing, right? Because it all fell
Yeah.
into place. And I had the consultation. I said, well, I should be getting this money within the next like maybe 2 to 3 weeks. It came the following week. And I
No
signed up.
way.
Isn't that wild? So I say all that to say it's not affordable. It's very expensive. And it's really sad that we have to spend so much money just to get simple tests to help address our children's root cause. And I want to help. And the only way I really know how, I'm not going to start a nonprofit right away. Eventually, I think that what I have in the works might lead to that down the line, but I just don't have the time. I would love to have the time, but I'm in the middle of healing my son. My daughter's turning 18. She's going into adulthood. She's going into college. My second born just started high school. Like, I have a lot on my plate. So eventually that is what I foresee for my future. But in the meantime, I can't like say too much, but I am going to put together something. And actually Liv and I told her what my plan was. And it's
Oh
just so
nice.
crazy how God works. She also had something similar in her mind. It's
Oh
just
wow.
wild. We shared each other's ideas, and it was just like God really connected us on so many levels. And we now are probably, not probably, we are going to collaborate. And so from what I plan on selling, I'm going to donate X amount of dollars, which I'm still trying to figure with margins and everything. So X amount of dollars are going to be donated from every single sale. And I'm going to have a pot, and it's going to sit right in the middle of my website. And it's going to have a pot, and that pot's going to be X a dollar amount of $5,000. And once I reach $5,000, I'm then going to have families nominate other families can enter for themselves. And then once that $5,000 is reached, I'm going to give that to a family for biomedical care.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yes.
That's that. I mean, that's what it's all about. Pay it forward.
Yeah, I want to help people as much as I can. So it's going to be blasted everywhere. Like you're not just purchasing these goods, there's a cause and there's a mission, and you're going to help other families. And again, like Crazy Live had the same idea with a different product. And so we are going to collaborate together, and we're going to have a list of practitioners that we are going to personally stand by, and we're going to have that list, and we're going to then give those families an opportunity to pick from the list, and then we are going to pay the providers directly, because we want to make sure people don't take advantage and actually use the money for what it's for, so, and not take from another family that would have really used it for biomedical care. So we'll have our list of providers that we know and back, and then pay them on the family's behalf. So I'm really excited.
And that's God's economy.
Yeah.
He fills the gaps for you, fills the gaps for others, puts it on your hearts to do what you're going to do. And if everybody could just lean into that and what he's telling them, I think the world would be a lot better place.
No, truly. I always wondered what my calling really was. And my son's diagnosis showed me, like, my calling is to help people. I've always just done it without even thinking about it. And now that's my calling. My calling is to help other families see the other side of advocacy and know that healing their child is possible.
So good. So good. Well, Cassandra, that was so much fun. Thank you for sharing and learning about Mateo. And I think we accomplished everything that I feel like God's put on my heart for this space, is to give parents hope. And I think you've done just that. So
thank you for what you do. It's amazing that you host this podcast, because there's so many people to learn from. There's so many stories, and you can't learn enough. You cannot learn enough.
And everyone's stories are unique, and how they go about it is different. It's like the more that gets out there, the better, and pick and choose what works for you.